I found the Taycan to be somewhat of a precarious car to review, as it is a car that tries to be many different things, but doesn't quite fit in anywhere. And after spending a lot of time driving it, living with it, and thinking about it, I decided that doing an apples-to-apples comparison to internal combustion Porsches, or even other electric cars, would not be an effective way to talk about it. So I decided to review it from 3 different perspectives. In this video, I'll be reviewing the Taycan from the perspective of someone who prefers to drive air-cooled Porsches. The Taycan does most everything a Porsche does. It accelerates well, it brakes well, and it handles well. But it's how it does these things that defines the experience. Now, stay with me on this analogy, because if you haven't spent a fair amount of time driving both air-cooled 911s and Taycans at speed, this is going to sound odd. When you're pushing an air-cooled 911, it's like you're engaging with the living, fire-breathing beast, as if the two of you are conquering the asphalt together. Almost like you're creating your own low-budget version of the movie, How to Train Your Dragon. But when you're pushing the Taycan, it's like you're communicating with a ghost, like your inputs are going into a void. The car does what you tell it to do, but there's no feedback, no connection there, no engagement. You never feel like you have a relationship with the vehicle. Now, I get that the ideology behind driving this car says that you're saving the environment, so it's worth it to give up some of the automotive experience, but that unfortunately does not come into play here. What ended up surprising me the most about the Taycan is how incredibly wasteful of energy it is. Before driving it, my expectations were that the car would be brimming with clever ways to make it run efficiently, but it's actually the complete opposite. Every time you open the front door, it triggers a mechanical ballet that's completely pointless. The steering wheel moves up a few inches, the front seats move back a few inches, and there's a series of lights and chimes that go off. And once you start the car, everything moves back into place. I get that the idea is to provide you with a more luxurious experience when entering and exiting the vehicle, but if most internal combustion cars don't waste this much energy doing unnecessary things, then why does an electric car do it? Also, every Taycan has a black glass roof, which makes the interior hotter and requires the air conditioning to be run more frequently. And these are only some of the reasons that the Taycan is one of the least efficient electric cars in production today. And once you consider the fact that tremendous environmental damage occurs during the mining of the minerals required for the batteries, and also during the manufacturing of the batteries, and the worst of the environmental damage will be caused once the depleted EV batteries need to be disposed of, the argument of sacrificing an engaging experience to save the environment completely goes out the window. The wastefulness also contributes to the car's less than impressive mileage range. And I really had to wonder just how much better the range of this car would have been if Porsche was more focused on making it energy efficient. Which brings us to another thing. If you've ever heard of range anxiety, it's a very real thing if you're driving a short-range, inefficient EV in a city with very few EV chargers. Another thing that was unexpected is that when you're driving it, it feels like you're driving a huge car, even though it's smaller than a Panamera or a Model S. But there are a lot of things to like about the Taycan too. You can actually drive it surprisingly hard, which was unexpected given the fact that it weighs nearly 4,800 pounds. I guess having the vehicle's heaviest component at the bottom center of the car is very effective when it comes to defeating physics. And as I stated at the beginning of this video, it does accelerate, brake, and handle very well. It's also a nice looking car if it has the right wheels. Get the wrong wheels and it just looks pedestrian. The Taycan certainly has its charms and it can be fun to drive, but at the end of the day, if you prefer driving the more classic Porsches, the user experience will feel more like you're driving a $160,000 smartphone and less like you're driving a Porsche. So back to the question, should you buy a Taycan if you're an air-cooled enthusiast? No. If you need to buy a sedan, get a Panamera GTS, or better yet, get a Panamera S with a manual transmission. Fewer than 100 were made, and they're pretty much guaranteed to skyrocket in value one day. Thanks for checking out this video. For more Porsche content that cannot be found anywhere else, click below to subscribe to this channel.